Well, welcome everyone. I'll call the meeting to order at 2:10 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th, and I am required to read, I guess, this boilerplate information regarding Zoom participation for an open meeting. So this meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems, God forbid, interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should be planned for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 375-414-6055 or by calling 929-206099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Teacher at atm@ayer.edu. or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. Should I, going forward, should the information about remote participation, should that go to you, Katie, or is that always Carly for all meetings?
What do you mean?
Well, at the bottom of the boilerplate.
It's always Carly.
It's always Carly,
Yeah.
regardless, yeah?
Yeah,
All right, fair enough.
just so that we keep it that same boilerplate one,
Sure.
because it's still through the town fair.
Yeah. All right, so all these copies of that. There we go. All right, so if we could, the meeting has been called to order, approve amend agenda. I know that Marge was wondering whether or not we should add to the agenda.
I just need to know how soon again before we revisit the sign-up policies and
Yep.
I
So,
don't know how long it had been.
okay, so I spoke with
You want to accept the agenda?
oh,
Well, I think that's the discussion, right?
Yeah.
Amend it to discuss that today.
that's right.
Or if not, we add it to June.
So the question is, 6 months or so ago, we had discussed this trip sign-up policy and the senior center's policy regarding that, as Katie had discussed. And there is evidently some concern that it's time to revisit that policy.
It's trips and meals and
Trips and meals. So signing up for various activities here at the center. So the question for the board is now an appropriate time, or do we want to schedule another time to revisit that policy? And then, let me say, it's not a policy of the board. It's a policy of the senior center, through the senior center director and her staff here. The question for the board is, to what extent do we want to support that policy? Do we want to ask that the policy be amended or changed in some way, or just to allow the people who participate here to feel like they have a voice in how the meeting is run? So we don't set the policies for the senior center. We can choose to support them to whatever degree we find appropriate or not, depending on the circumstances of the particular request. So thoughts on revisiting the policy regarding signups? Anybody? Any member of the board have a?
You hit set it?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying it probably would be a good thing to put on an agenda as an item so that information could be gathered from everybody as opposed to just sort of throwing it out as a open item at this one. We've got a
Yeah.
pretty full agenda for this meeting, I think.
We do
That's
today,
true.
but
Yeah.
I think we do have some um concerns where from residents and people that are saying to me, why are we having different policies for different,
Mhm.
so
Okay.
I think it needs to be addressed.
Okay, so, what if, and what if we, that is, during public input, members of the public are always welcome to kind of raise these concerns periodically. But does the board feel comfortable putting this on the agenda for June's meeting? And between now and June, we will collect whatever information we feel necessary and perhaps ask Katie to provide us, or, summarize the data to the best of her ability. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Are we allowed to speak? I mean, they don't want to.
Oh, if, for a question,
My answer would be to that is that there must be, with the summertime coming, there are all kinds of activities that happen more in summertime than happen in the wintertime. So making this a goal to discuss it, to plan it, with summertime coming, I think it's important.
okay, so we'll add it to the agenda for the June meeting.
What information would you guys like from me for that discussion?
Well, I know that when we had previously discussed this, one of the pieces of information you had is how many attendees from out of town are there at various activities? And how often has it been that a town of Ayer resident was excluded due to the fact that an out of town resident had earlier signed up for that particular activity? And I know at that time, the numbers were quite small. I want to say in the order of 3 or 4%. I don't know if that's changed, but maybe that's something that we could look at in some detail for the June meeting.
And again, are we still allowed to sign up just ourselves? Because I think,
That's always been the policy. That's never been.
but I think out of town has signed up.
So I'm aware of one incident that you and I
know,
talked about.
right, but
And
I
I
know
spoke with the,
2 other people have signed up on the bus too for,
okay, so
and
so
when
I
people,
think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, no, and I just think when, and I'm not going on any trips, so but
Right.
I think when the buses are taken up from the Air people and we can't sign up again.
Right. So speaking to the signing up more than one person, first, and that's what you said first. I'm only aware of one time that that's happened in the last probably 8 months, since we really made that policy and made that clear. And that was probably, I think, about 7 or 8 months ago that we were very clear about that. So I'm only aware of one incident that that's happened since then. And I spoke to the person that did that because they should not have done that. And so I clarified that. So I think we're square on that one. If there are other incidents where that has happened, any of the receptionists, any of the people who see that, please bring that to my attention, because all of the receptionists and all of the staff know that you must call and sign yourself up. You can't sign up more than one person. There are a couple of situations where I might make an exception for that. But that is not the typical situation. So, but like, let's say, I don't know, but by and large, no.
I have a question.
So, let me just finish answering Marge real quick. So, but then in terms of the Air versus not Air residents, I'm happy to entertain that discussion as a larger one.
I just think with summer coming, some of the Air people that can't get out,
Right.
like in June or July,
That's
it's
right.
going to get taken up.
People.
because people come in Monday morning
Right.
for exercise or whatever, and if the newsletter is out, they're going to the out of town.
So, I mean, we said we wanted to hold it off for next month. I will
I
again
know.
reiterate I
I
think it's important to include people from all towns.
But they're the same ones that will exclude us from,
So,
and I've changed on that a lot
Mhm.
because I've seen it happening.
yeah. So I think we have I'm getting a clearer understanding of what the
Mhm.
specifics of the issues are. I think that
Mhm.
we will put it on the agenda for June.
Yep,
Have a
Yep.
complete, kind of ask Katie to compile the data.
Yep.
Is there any other information you guys want to know in order to have that conversation?
I'd sort of like to know, like, percentages of reservations full versus,
Oh, versus.
Yeah.
mhm.
and that includes like cancellations. And I don't know if that's possible.
Much easier for trips than for lunches,
Okay.
but yes.
Okay.
They
And I-
sign up for a particular thing, just like Rockport. Within one day, you've got 12 people signed up. And some of them are from out of town. And it doesn't give the rest of the air residents a chance to get in there to make these reservations for. This has been going on for some time.
Mhm.
And it's not just that, it's other things. I'm for other people, I'm for the other towns to be able to do it.
Mhm.
But if they come, like the first day, if it comes out the 28th of the month, the 29th, the out of towners have the information and then boom, on the phone.
Yep.
I did it. When I was at work, Mary Ellen went by and she was dropping it off to the hairdressers and I called her and I saw that there was a trip coming up that I wanted to do. I got on that phone. Because I knew by the time I came in here, the next day or that night, it would be booked.
But it's like Shirley did the Pockets Maple. And no, you can't go.
Can I ask a
Sorry,
question on
yeah,
that?
yeah.
You said we can't book for somebody else, right? I book for my husband all the time.
Well,
Is
you're
that
within-
allowed?
No, you're within the same household. Yes, you can vote for you
Okay,
and
so
your husband.
in other words, if Marge wanted to book with her husband, I can't say she can't. She can. But she's in the
Absolutely.
same house.
Yes, but like you can't take a sign up, like Marge can't call on a Monday
Say-
morning and tell you that she wants to sign up herself and Mary and Nancy and
But going
Margaret.
to her husband.
Yes, yes,
Or
yes,
her
it's
daughter?
within the same
Mhm.
household. Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep, that's fine.
I just wanted to clarify that.
No, but that, that could be the same thing. If you said the daughter, I mean, that's the same case. The daughter might not be 65 years old. And how can you sign up for the daughter?
Well,
So
well,
the
Jen, you said that it's not right.
But let's put it on for June.
If the
Yeah.
Either that or
existing
we've got to bump
policy-
something from here.
The existing policy is that
Right.
we do not have a tiered system of enrollment.
Right.
They're bringing up various
Mhm.
examples of tiered
Exactly. No,
enrollment, so that's,
Yeah, and like I said, is it either we
Go
have to
on.
bump something from here.
Oh,
Yep.
so we'll put it on.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
The June meeting.
It'll be the
It's
second-
June 11th.
this.
Thank you,
Um,
At 2 p.m.
yes.
Yep. thank you. Okay,
Okay, any other? Can we?
I-
then-
make a motion, we approve this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Um,
Hearing none opposed, meeting agenda is approved, 4-0. Meeting minutes. Any questions on the meeting minutes?
I thought Mary Ellen did a great job.
I agree with that.
I vote that we approve it.
Second.
Hearing no, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes?
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed? Hearing none, meeting minutes are approved.
And thank you for doing it, Mary Ellen.
Yes, thank you very much, Marilyn. You don't know
I appreciate it.
what a burden lifted that is. So open office hours, I know that Mary, office hours at the library.
Yeah.
How did that?
I had a great conversation with myself.
Oh, that's what happened when I did it.
So I think the open office hours are a great idea.
Yeah.
I really do, because it gives seniors a chance to meet you in a different venue. I just don't know if how we're approaching it is
Yeah.
the right way to do it or the most effective way to do it.
Yeah. Any thoughts on?
So maybe thinking about whether or not it goes from monthly to maybe quarterly, or trying to tie it into something, or I guess is trying to figure also too is who are we trying to get to other than this broad base of seniors?
So I actually, I was speaking with Barbara, who's one of the receptionists here, who lives at Pleasant Street. One morning when they have the Pleasant Street apartment morning coffee. Just if there happen to be, half a dozen people or so who may be there. So that is something that I'm planning on doing.
Go for it.
With the supposition that there will be some people there other than myself, because when I held open office hours at Pleasant Street Apartments, that was having the same conversation you were having.
Yeah.
Do the folks here, well, my initial thought, and this was suggested by the town administrator, was that by having open office hours, people are in a position to speak more freely to members of the board without having an official meeting.
No.
Down the wrong way. Hit the wrong tube.
Yeah.
Well, I did walk away.
That's what he choked on.
Yeah, I know. I did exactly the same thing he did yesterday.
Raising
You'll
the,
but-
Yeah.
We're here to say crap.
yeah,
Right,
Because it
this
goes.
Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
People that are,
They,
Dennis.
most
but they're not the meeting.
no,
The other part.
The other-
Right.
Riley,
Yeah. I
they've
was gonna
been
say.
feeling lately
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they've been sick.
no, because I live down the street,
Oh,
she
okay.
just said, why don't you just walk up here?
But they have been.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they have something in the morning there at
Yeah,
Pleasant?
they have, I guess, a weekly Pleasant Street Apartment Tenants Association meeting.
Oh,
In a sense, I think it just is more like a coffee get together where they may raise some, I'm not sure frankly, but
that's good, because we heard this morning that there was coffee and donuts upstairs.
Yeah.
Yes. You know,
They have a happy hour there too.
They had coffee and Katie and I said, oh, we're gonna follow you.
Mhm.
Huh.
So my initial thought for the open office hours was that in the absence of a quorum and not at an official meeting, members of the public may feel more comfortable bringing concerns or questions to
Right.
members of the board that we could then kind of mull over a little bit and try to see if we could find our way forward with it.
I mean, I was also hoping to talk to people who might be in sort of in the public place, and like the library would be a good one, that don't come to the senior
Sure.
vendor,
Which is, yeah,
or that aren't necessarily in the age, like, are of the age that could use it, why?
which is,
Do you know the services that are all that type of stuff? Or
and,
maybe some of the things that are of concern to them.
and, when I was at Tiny's, I thought that maybe because that seemed like a kind of sweet spot to be in. But obviously that not either.
Can they go on channel 8?
What's that?
Can they go on channel 8?
Oh, you mean like saying, this is where we're gonna be?
Yeah. And that they know when.
Is it, so it's not just in the newsletter trying to get, and that was sort of the other thing, is it just that it's not publicized enough?
Mhm.
People miss it in the newsletter? I
Right.
don't know.
I mean,
Not
we've
that
been
the
trying to
newsletter's
get,
not
yeah,
great, Kate.
yeah, no,
It's
no,
just
no,
that-
we've been trying to get APAC to, was to say,
Yeah.
we've been trying to get APAC to, collaborate with us for a long time, and it just seems to fall flat.
And once,
Yeah,
Yeah,
And my understanding is they have the guide up now. Are you able to see that like a screen?
The
Guide.
problem is like with the meeting that they taped here,
Uh-huh.
you couldn't find it anywhere. Had to go digging for it.
Mhm.
It was on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Right,
you have to
yeah.
click in.
And
Right.
that makes no sense because not everybody, plus now they want a membership. But not everybody knows that that's where it is.
Mhm.
Right, yep. But did they put the guide of what's like on your actual TV, on your TV screen? Did they put that guide up? They said they were gonna do it either in between programs or scrolling on the
I
bottom.
haven't seen it because most of the time when I go to chat,
Mhm.
it's one of the apps.
Yeah,
So my
gotcha.
timing is off on that.
Yeah,
That repeats it.
yeah, I wish I had more influence over what APAC was doing. I mean, I offered them, I have several $1,000s for them in my grant. They just,
Yeah,
they don't.
we go to YouTube and then put in what we want.
Yeah.
Yes, if we're back and watching a meeting.
I just, whatever their situation is, it's,
Mhm.
they're not in a place to do it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, like I said, that was my opinion on the office
Yeah.
hours. Listen, I think they're a good idea, but I just don't know if we're getting,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We the Robert Carly now to do with ACAT, but they can't see that it's being taken care of.
I mean, that's a good example. I mean, of advocacy, if you guys
Yeah.
wanted to try and advocate, I don't think that.
And they both seem to be responsive to the COA.
Uh-huh.
So
I'm sorry, just say the who, Barbara?
Robert Carly and Carly.
Oh, yeah. No,
They're the powers that be. They're the ones that.
right, well, he did come here once
Yes.
right, and nothing happened, and we still don't know if we can see the guide or we can't, we don't know.
They said you could.
I have,
What's that?
They could at one point.
No, we're not sure.
but you.
I don't know if I can watch it.
Mhm.
All right, so,
Okay.
with the board's permission, I'll reach out to APAC again and see if I can get them to a future meeting.
The excuse I heard was that,
Yeah, I think
He
that's
teaches.
excellent.
I'm sorry,
the
Barbara.
excuse I heard is that he's teaching as well as doing a. So he doesn't have time.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll reach out to APAC. In terms of the office hours now, when are we are in.
Yeah,
it's a big
right.
days. We've been doing what, about 6 months?
Yeah, so why don't we, June, July, August, why don't we try to shoot for September for the next open office hours and come up with a better plan of how to attract
Different people,
different people?
or maybe location or what.
Yeah.
I mean, one option would be to do a reception
Yeah.
here or elsewhere, preferably not here. Because you're trying to get people who don't come here.
Exactly.
So in a more, but to do an actual event.
Right, but it has to be with only one of us, or less than
We
three of
could
us
do-
to make it.
Unless-
Yeah.
I was gonna say we could.
Or
do-
you could just post it as meeting,
Sure.
and have everybody there.
Yeah.
Free meeting.
Come to town, you can get free coffee and a
Free
donut.
meeting.
I tried it.
Wasn't advertised.
Was. Didn't want too many people showing up. Okay, so on the next item is the rules or bylaws or regulations that I had drafted,
Mhm.
with some help from Mary, I think, and others who submitted. What do people think about this draft? I
No, I
mean,
thought
this,
they were good.
I thought they were good things. I think, it sort of hit all the different points.
Mhm.
Put in more specifics about if, instances
Yeah.
or agenda items and whatnot, who you hit up, so it's not multiple people.
Yep.
Puts in a time frame for how long people have to review it beforehand. It gives all the links for all of the additional resources, which I think
Mhm.
are important. especially for new board members who have never served
Right.
necessarily on a public board.
Mhm.
You know,
No, it's a different animal.
it definitely is a different, you don't necessarily always think of those different components.
And the,
I think it explains the duties.
right, so those last, wait a minute. Yeah, so Article 5, Article 6, Article 7,
Mhm.
the specifics, the last 2 pages, I guess, I just included those, which I got off the web and edited marginally. I did not foresee those last 2 pages as being part of the articles themselves. They are just for our purposes to help us better understand what it is that those things mean.
Well, you might want to put them on as amendments so that if somebody does have a question of it goes to the COA board's definition of duty of loyalty, duty of obedience, or and duty of care versus a general one that somebody might find on the web that's different.
Mhm.
I mean, those could be just sort of an amendment or after all the other information, like as a gloss.
Yeah.
Type it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little bit of feedback. Did anybody else have any others? Okay. So in Article 2 for membership, I was gonna suggest a bullet point that says appointments shall be staggered so that no more than 2 members expire per year or whatever that would be, because that would allow us to go back and then, because the search for those existing term ending dates
Mhm.
isn't turning up much. But I think if we adopt this and then we go back to the town manager's office and say, look, these 3 terms expiring in 1 year, where a majority of the board rolls off on 1 year isn't consistent with our policies and procedures, then we might be able to get one person renewed for a 1 year term.
As opposed to every for a 3-year.
Well, I mean, but even just one for 1 year period.
Yeah.
As a special term in order to get them staggered into 3 expiration dates rather than 2.
Mhm.
So that'd be my suggestion on that one. There's nothing about term limits here. I don't know that you want that or don't want that. I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. There isn't anything on that. I don't think there's any language about term limits anywhere else in the town. So I don't know that it's necessarily appropriate. I just wanted to bring it up as that's where it would go if you wanted that. And then I'm still confused about duty of loyalty versus duty of obedience. But I appreciate the examples in the back. I think I'm just gonna accept that I don't understand the difference between them, but I get the general gist of it.
I reached out to the town manager's office again regarding the staggering of terms, and you really shouldn't have 3, you shouldn't have a full quorum be able to be replaced at one time.
Right, yeah.
Because it could potentially open yourself up to kinds of high
Because
kicks.
Well, if we can't fill, if you have 3 seats roll off and you can't fill them immediately, it makes the board a lame duck.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Or if there were a particular agenda that others were pursuing, they could move to replace all 3 members at once.
right,
And then they would effectively co-opt any kind of.
right. Yeah, I just think you don't want the majority of a board going off at any given time for any positive or negative reason.
Okay. So, with Katie's suggestion that that Article 2 be revised to include appointments are to be staggered in the manner described, do I have a motion to accept the draft? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, hearing none. The rules and regulations of the Council on Aging are adopted. What's that?
Good job.
Thanks very much, Bobby.
So in part of that is, so we still don't know. So do Bob and I have to do anything to renew? Because in theory, this would be our last meeting.
The question,
No, the June 30th, right?
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
I think it goes with the fiscal year.
Okay,
And so Carly handles all those reappointments, so she will reach out
Okay.
to you guys as far as the reappointment.
Okay.
Director's report.
Alrighty.
Can I ask a question on that? On number 2. If when the select board appoints 5 members, is that based on application submission? Or how do they choose that? Because what if they decide, oh, this is a friend of mine, that's really, let's get him there, you know? How would board members chosen by the select board?
So the select board, and I think there is a running list on the website, but the select board will post a notice saying that there is a vacancy on such and such a board, in this case, Council on Aging Board of Directors. And that notice stays up for, I think, 2 weeks
Was it posted?
on the web, on the town managers, I think.
Okay.
And that stays up for 2 weeks, and they take in letters, what they're called letters of interest.
Mhm.
Sometimes people will submit a full resume, other times they'll just kind of send an email saying, I'm interested in being appointed. This is why I think I would be good for that position. And then at a subsequent meeting of the select board, the town manager will include in his packet information regarding the applicants for these positions. As a matter of course, there has rarely been the case that, there's been more than one applicant for the positions that are available.
Yeah, because I just remember, a couple of years ago, there was a discussion with this board about not getting enough applicants to join the board.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm questioning now the selectmen or select people that do the review and do the appointment.
So the select board appoints, but the step missing in there for the COA board is that, and actually that should probably be in this, is that so it gets posted, like Dennis said, for 2 weeks, people submit their letters of interest. Then Dennis would get a list of the people who submitted their interest. They are supposed to come and attend one of our meetings where they can observe, where we can talk to them, ask them questions, things like that. And then the COA board makes a recommendation to the select board about who the COA board would like. Ultimately, the decision is with the select board to make that final decision. But my understanding is in practice, they tend to take the recommendation of the board,
So when it's posted
right?
and people respond, to whom does the letters of response and the people that are interested, whom do they go to?
I believe mine went to Carly last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a good point about, overlook that.
That's just an interim step. It wasn't for the building committee, but
Yeah.
for this one there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the director's report.
Right. So let's see. I think everyone should have a copy of that. So I provided, we're not to the end of the fiscal year yet, but I just I had a chance to get caught up on all my ledger items. So I wanted to put forth sort of where we are in the budget. We will run out of money in the meals budget and in the programs budget before the end of the year. I expected that because I didn't ask for more money last year. I asked for more money for the upcoming year, but I chose to keep it the same the second year. Food costs have gone up, participation has gone up. It was based on a model of 10 to 15 people per meal. We regularly have far more than that, so we'll be fine for next year. But as you can see, so I have the first parts of the chart are the omnibus budget items. Those are the things that is the main town budget that gets voted on at town meeting. but then I also have these special revenue accounts. And the idea, the differentiation between those is taxpayer dollars are collected and they go into these accounts at the top of the list for my main budget. You pull money out of that, but I can't put money into it. The only money that can go into those accounts are taxpayer dollars raised by real estate taxes and, commercial real estate taxes as well, not just personal. So
That's town taxes.
town taxes for that's better, town taxes. So that's a one way in, one way out kind of account. So these special revenue accounts are created to be more like your checking account where money can come in from multiple sources and go out to multiple sources and things like that. So we have the donations account, which has quite a balance in it now because of the meal revenue. So like I said, we're out of money now. As you can see in the top chart, I have spent 101% of the meals budget. I'll have to get with Carrie and reconcile that. So the money now to pay for May and June's meals are going to come out of this 26009, the meals revenue account in the bottom to carry us over. Then that's what it's for. That's why people make a donation, when they get their meal. So that sits there until I need it. Last year I didn't need it. This year I will need it. So let's see. Salaries, wages, services are right where they're supposed to be. General supplies are also where they're supposed to be. Programs, professional expenses looks smaller. That particular budget category, I have to keep $1,000 in there in case I have a van deductible, in case I purchase the van, but you hope not to use that and you hope to turn it back over to the town at the end of the year. Let's see, mileage, my staff can turn in mileage for when they use their vehicles for work-related purposes. If they turn in, I have to have a certain amount to cover that, and we don't really come near it. So that's why that number is smaller.
So that really, those numbers are static. So they automatically go in and you build them out, right?
What do you mean?
So there's sort of, you always have to have $1,000. So it's more like, it's there, but it isn't. So it's sort of.
Right. So that of that $4,800 in professional expenses, 1,000 of it's earmarked for the mileage, for the van. There's $400 we pay Mock we pay them money to bring us the food for Mondays and Fridays. There's MCOA dues. There's money that comes out of that account for Mary Ellen and I to go to the MCOA, the state conference. That all comes out of that number. And we didn't end up staying overnight this year at the conference. We both were so busy, we just went for a day. So that's why that account has more in it. I just wanted to explain that kind of as an anomaly compared to the other percentages. And then let's see, we have about $7,600 in the general non-earmarked donation account. We have $1,900 in the outreach specific. So if you earmark it for something outreach related, it's there. If it was a general donation, it goes in the general donation. The outreach donation account is money earmarked for Brittany, Mary Ellen, and I to use at our discretion to assist with any costs related to our social service interactions with them, with our clients. Let's see.
What is the MART money?
So the MART one's tricky, and I don't really pay a lot of attention to it because we pay money in as part of the transportation assessment as the whole town. And then we collect revenue from the van rides that goes into that account. And then we bill MART for fuel and Sam's cell phone and a couple hours a week of my time to help with the dispatching and all that stuff. And so there's this lovely complex, we paid you, now you're gonna pay us thing that goes back and forth. And right now there's a balance in that account, but we also, they'll also reconcile with Sam's salary at some point, and so it typically ends up by the end of the fiscal year, Carrie does some sort of bookkeeping thing and that account zeroes out. So it's not really available money to spend. It just is what the balance is.
Yeah. No, and, you know, obviously the transportation and, you know, the desire for more robust, frequent, you know, availability of transportation is kind of would be great to see happen. And the relationship between the town and Mark and how the money moves between them
Right.
is all part of that. And I still don't fully quite, you know, to speak to the complexity of that relationship. So it's something that I've been giving significant consideration to how to work through that in an effort to get more transportation options available.
Well, Robert is our MART representative, so I would
Right.
recommend scheduling a meeting with him specific to MART to get some sort of handle on
No,
how that works.
I did that.
Okay, and then the money that you would be more interested in for that purpose is the formula grant money.
Mhm.
So, that money was actually a little bit higher. But Carrie hadn't done Carrie's the town accountant, sorry, hadn't done a transfer recently because our formula grant, the first $14,000 of Mary Ellen's salary is supposed to be coming out of the formula grant, and then the remainder is paid out of this wages line up at the top chart. But because it was early in the year and the formula grant money wasn't here in July, it got deposited in October. The town had just been paying all of her salary out of that line. So that money would run out. And they'd be like, well, how do we pay the last 14,000? Actually, it's supposed to come from the formula. So that actually was, you know, almost 40,000, but they did the transfer between the
Is that
accounts.
what's referred to as the cherry sheet?
So the
No.
cherry sheet is more like, think of a cherry sheet, I might not explain this exactly right, but the cherry sheet is more of a balance between aid from the state for certain things and assessments to the town related to those things. And they're kind of all supposed to balance out. So the town gets state aid for transportation. And then with that money, the town pays the state to administer the transportation program. Again, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's sort of a back and forth of money went this way and money went that way, and it kind of equals out. And that's more like the MARC part, but the formula grant is Executive Office of Elder Affairs pays $14 per senior. And that number, they just said, in the new budget for FY 25, it will go up to $15 per senior. So provided that the budget gets approved, and that still remains to be seen, but, it will go up $1 per senior, which will be roughly $2,000 more for us in formula grant money for next year, which would be great. But it's that $28,000 that is the most flexible money for something specific related to transportation or whatever.
Mhm.
That would be the pot of money you would want to be working with or something like that. It can also be used, you know, we can use it for programming, we can use it for really anything having to do with seniors. We could rent a yacht for the day, I don't know, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. It, like,
There goes the budget.
yeah, there goes the budget. But that one is not terribly restricted in terms of what it gets used for. Used to be, but it's now. The Senior Activities Fund is revenue from, you know, the omnibus budget, program budget pays for activities, then seniors kick in some portion of it. I subsidize almost everything that we do here. Very rarely does anyone pay full price for it. So the revenue that comes back in from that goes in that account. So that is just sitting there because the omnibus budget money, you either use it or it goes back to the town in free cash and I lose it every fiscal year. So I try and spend up all that money. But when money goes into these special revenue accounts, it rolls over from year to year. I can't be stockpiling money in those, but it can roll over. So I'm not in any hurry to spend all those down because we're hopefully going to have a new building in a few years and there might be some things that we didn't plan for that we want to use or do. So
I guess, so could you're not stockpiling money, but sort of save it, stash it away for those types of things? Can you save it to a certain dollar amount, a certain amount of time? At what point would they say, hey, Katie, you gotta spend money?
they set, I don't have a copy of the warrant. The town warrant set the maximum balances of those revenue accounts. And I honestly didn't look because I thought they were fairly high. I don't remember.
Okay, so that's set by the town. and
That
can
was set
change.
by the town. That was at, Mary Ellen, can you, I don't know if
The town
you can,
meeting?
are able to
Just
pull that
reason.
up right now, or if it's too hard to find, I could look into that with those.
But you have not been approached by the town manager's office saying you're approaching the upper limit, spend this down.
I have not been, not by the town manager's office. The town accountant and I have had conversations about, approaching that spot. So, but I don't know where it is. I need to do a little more work. It's not like I'm just automatically gonna lose it. There
Is it-
just needs to be further
Is it each
conversation.
account or all of the accounts in total?
So the senior activities and the senior store were the two that were in the town warrant.
Okay,
So, Mock zeroes out. That $86 balance I owe to Mock. I need to do it in the next payables. Donations don't have any limit,
okay.
but that's why we call this a $3 suggested donation. It's not a fee. It's not the cost of the meal. It is a donation so that I am allowed to take that, what would be a revenue account and be limited in its top. I can put in as a donation. I have it earmarked for meals so that it's being used for that, but that is the account
They're
that,
not paying for a fee to have that meal. They're
right,
paying-
it is a
they're giving
$3 suggested
Right.
donation.
donation.
What I didn't know growing up Catholic, suggested donation.
Suggested donation.
It's your seat donation.
Yeah. And then last but not least, the senior store has $118 in it. We're not doing the senior store anymore. It was a lot of effort and not very many, I had people ask about it, but just not that many people took advantage of it, which led me to believe there wasn't really as much of a need as we thought. So that money will just sit there. It's just gonna hang out. So, let's see, we had pretty average attendance in April. There's a list of the special programs. Do you happen to remember for tax aid, it was over 100, was it 116 or
I believe it's
160?
somewhere in the 116 category.
116, okay.
It was a notice that was about 23% of all of the ones that were done in this region in general.
Wow, that's great. Go Mary, go Sharon. Thank you. That's such an incredible service that you guys offer. So thank you for doing that. Let's see. We've had 2 hybrid programming grant funded activities thus far. We did our first test of the OWL system during a conversation group last week. And we are sort of attempting to use it right now, although I'm sorry, it didn't broadcast as it was supposed to up there, but I can turn it around. It's hard to see here, but on this, I'll do it twice, but on this half of the screen, you can see up here at the top, it's a 360-degree view. So everybody at home can see everyone here. And then as each one of us talks, we each get our own window down there and it will follow. If I were to stand up, it would follow me and follow my voice, which is kind of cool. And then the second half of the screen is Mary Ellen. She's the other person joining. So she's on her own camera there. We can see you on this side. So that gives, the idea of the OWL system here is that we all sitting around this table don't have our faces in a computer. We're able to have a successful cohesive in-person meeting. The owl is much less intrusive than the tablets, even though we have two on the table at the moment. But we're not looking into them. And then the person at home can follow along much more naturally, so.
So I'm just gonna tell, so if I begin talking, I'm just looking at the light there, it doesn't.
It should.
You can ask. Have you been able to see me?
No, it didn't take your voice. It's for some reason like Nancy
did, really?
O'Leary right now.
Let me take my place, here we go.
Hey, Alan.
It's backing up. Okay, so it just got Kim Karen.
Oh,
She was talking.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3.
Give it a chance.
Yeah, I've been ignored by people other.
It might be blocking because your tablet is there. Trying to see if that's getting in the way. I can now say something.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
There you
testing.
are.
There you go.
Now you're,
Wow, that's good to know.
yeah. So if you have it needs to have a clear line of sight too. So we had, yesterday we had a watercolor class
Yeah.
that we used, went really well. Hard to see. Pass that around.
Yeah, you sent me the still, that was
Yeah.
great.
So everyone was sitting sort of in a horseshoe shape around the big TV in the other room, and the instructor was in Weymouth or Wayland or something like that, and everyone painted with the instruction from the instructor that was much further away, who would never come see us in person. So that part was fantastic. So I have quotes in hand now for 10 iPads and 10 Chromebooks to further
Mhm.
the program. So we can start with tech literacy skills, and then further expanding. Like I'm talking, for example, with a photographer who might be offering a class in the fall or the spring that would be funded by the grant, where you could go to like an air landmark and everybody could practice taking pictures. And then there would be a session following up, like maybe the next week, where we would learn basic digital photography editing skills on the laptops and iPads. Or that, one thing I was suggesting is that as people are looking to downsize, maybe we can teach people how to take good photographs of things that are their treasures and how to compile them into a photo book, so there's a lot of really great ideas for how to use this technology and to use the loaner devices so that people can enjoy it.
And and I'm just noting, I know that you've made some good faith efforts to help with the school regarding the cyber seniors program, but it's
Oh, wow.
as part of that, and this is something that I struggle with, is where are my documents and photos stored? How do I access them? How do I access the cloud? Which cloud account am I in? Google or Microsoft? Having someone explain those kinds of things so that when you snap the photo, you know where to go to find it. And if you want to, because, we have not an iPad, but something similar from Google in the house that will cycle through the photographs and they automatically appear. How it is that they appear and some others don't, or,
Right.
I have no idea.
That's a great
And
example.
I'm kind of afraid of trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, to what extent would you be able to access the hybrid programming grant money to have someone walk through that process?
That's a great example of tech literacy skills I'd like to teach people. Small topics like how to use Google Photos or how to use a photo picture frame, like breaking it down into very small lessons to teach. Cyber Seniors has hundreds of classes and curriculum for those types of classes. It's just a matter of getting people willing to sign up to become teachers to do it. So I'm working on it.
Okay, so.
Yeah. So let's see. Outreach has been,
quick question on these iPad people. And I don't know anyone else that I have a computer, but I'm not computer literate.
Right.
So if you're gonna be doing things like storing pictures, all that, I would recommend a written procedure.
Yeah.
So somebody can look down.
Yep.
And follow that, because I don't know how to use my iPad.
Right.
I don't know how to access. I don't know what's in there.
Yeah,
I know
written
there's,
instructions are a really important part of any tech curriculum, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Katie,
you're gonna have a class on iPads?
We will. We're working on it. That's part of what the grant is funding. And so the first thing is I need to get the actual equipment. And I've been going through a multi-month process. In case everyone wonders what I'm doing back there in my office, I am trying to strategize and find vendors and sources and ways to bring tech classes that don't involve me going, well, if you hit this button right here, you know,
Yeah.
so some more formal versions of that, so that everybody, you know, someone else is going to be a better teacher than I am. I have lots of skills, but teaching tech skills is not one of them. So, I've been looking for someone to help provide those classes. So that's, stay tuned. It's
Yes.
coming. But yeah, it's certainly going to be easier to teach those skills if I have a common bank of devices for everyone to come in and sit in front of to learn them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, let's see, for outreach, Mary Ellen continues to be awesome. She provided outreach services to 28 seniors, more than 50 times in March. So if you think about that, that's, you know, there's like 20 working days in a month. She's seeing at least one client a day. And she is, you know, really more like 2 or more than 2 clients a day, you know, because many clients come in many, many times, you know. So she is fantastic and wonderful. Housing continues to be the most frequent topic of interaction. General financial matters, transportation, wellness checks. The Friendly Caller program is picking up. So if you know of anybody who is alone and isolated in their home and would like a weekly, just, you know, 10-minute conversation with Mary Ellen to check in, have someone to talk to. A lot of senior centers do a friendly visitor program, then definitely send those names Mary Ellen's way. She loves to call and talk to people. Yep. And that's so important because if you're isolated in your home, you may not talk to anybody. You may just watch a lot of TV, but to have a live conversation with a live person, for many of us, that's hard to imagine. But having gone through the pandemic, I think we can all imagine it a little better than we would have a few years ago.
Are the outreach numbers included in the seniors in attendance number, or are those separate?
Separate.
They are separate, okay.
Now, 130 seniors in attendance for events. That's all based on events.
I see.
So now, are some of those 130 also outreach clients? Sure. All of them, no.
Okay, no, that's good to know, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then again, for in the transportation section, you'll see that we had 60 riders in April. Those 60 and 28 and 130 add up to who we served.
Right.
Is there overlap between those numbers? Yes. Are there, because there are people that attend events here that came on the van to get here. There are also lots of riders who ride the van that would never step foot in here, right? They're never here. So there is some overlap, but they don't all over.
Right, and I guess so in terms of outreach or in terms of expanding our ability to provide assistance to the community, the fact that 120 are in attendance, we're reaching people other than that. You know,
Oh, yes,
we're
for
reaching
sure.
new faces or unfamiliar faces, even if it's only, you know, once every 3 weeks or once a month, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
If I had to make a guess, I would say it's about 50% for both outreach and transportation. Mary Ellen, maybe you would have a different total, but there's a fair amount of people that come in only for your services that don't attend to other programs. Would you say it's 50-50 or would you say it's, well, right, but so if I were to add 130 plus 15 plus, and it's definitely 50-50 for the transportation. So 30 and 15 is 45 and 130. So I would say we serviced 175 people in the month, and April was a little bit lower because of Sam's vacation. So,
Was your backup driver able to assist with Sam's vacation, or was it?
he did, and Russell was wonderful. I didn't throw him in to Sam's full schedule. It just
No, I
wasn't
knew- I
fair.
knew
I
that,
wanted him
but
to
at least-
come back again. So he did Tuesday, and I'm sorry, it ended up being Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, special afternoon, just group shopping trips to allow people to get kind of their necessities from Walmart, Walmart, Market Basket, and Shop and Save. So we did have a fair amount of riders for each of those. And he's gonna be the driver for the asparagus tour on the 25th as well. So my goal is to add more evening activities going forward, and split those between Sam and Russell. And then for June, I'd like to do kind of a prompt in the newsletter for people to let me know where they think the holes are in the transportation program. Do we need hours starting at 7 a.m.? Do we need, I can't imagine that would be the case, but like, do we need more hours in the beginning of the day? Is 4 p.m. too early to end? Do we want to add hours to the end of the day, or is it just more frequent evening and weekend trips? I don't have a second vehicle, so I can't really expand the range anymore right now. But yeah, so I'm gonna ask people what they think in June for that. Mary Ellen's been working hard on special outreach projects. We like I said before, there's been an increase in the friendly visitor activities. We're gonna have a booth at the Devon's Food Truck and Craft Festival, and I would love it if some of the board members could sit with, it's June 1st.
June 1st.
June 1st. It's from 11 to 6, so it's a long day. So if everybody could check their calendar and see if they're available to sit with Mary Ellen or give her some respite so she can go. Otherwise, she's gonna have one glass of water and be dehydrated or whatever by the end of the day. So there you go, right?
What explains the Meals on Wheels utilization rate go up?
We've lost a lot of clients. A lot of people have passed away. So I don't think the need has declined. I think there was a huge bolus of people who signed up during the pandemic. Because during that time, it became more comfortable and more convenient to just get your meals brought to you rather than need to go to the grocery store as frequently. And MOP kind of dropped a lot of their criteria for signing people up during that period of time. So I do think the need still exists. We are working on, I should say Mary Ellen is working, and not we, Mary Ellen is working on contacting some of our local hospitals and rehab facilities to make sure that Meals on Wheels is on their radar as part of their discharge planning. And we're going to do some more advertising just locally, saying, like on social media saying, do you have an elderly neighbor that you think might benefit from this? Would this help your parents? If so, give us a call, talk about it, see if we can get some more people signed up. Trio, the new food service that switched over maybe 6 months ago or so. They're offering a much larger variety in meals now, and I personally think they're tasty. There's only one or two that I won't eat. Previous mock, when it was made out in Fitchburg, was
What's your vocabulary?
I will. We already went there once.
Yeah.
So it wasn't my favorite. I think there's a much of an increase.
But it's just interesting to me that as people have come off the list, others haven't come full, it just hasn't kind of just naturally, that is, there's some,
I think it's a pretty powerful statement about the status of aging services right now. I don't think that they are able across all of their things to meet the needs. They are our aging services access point. We have, like everybody, they are understaffed. They're not able to meet the needs of area seniors, be it for home care services, companion services, intakes for Meals on Wheels. They're not able to market themselves, or they're just, they would normally be the main way we would get people enrolled in the program would be because they would have an aging services case manager who would say, we think you would benefit from this service. And they're just not doing it. I mean, there's not able to, so we're trying to make sure that from our side and our perspective that we're able to do that. Let's see, what else? Meals program, very popular. We're hovering right around 20 people for most meals. Every month there's about 15 to 18 meals. 6 or 7 of them will be full each time. As with anything, there are people who don't remember to sign up and they show up without signing up. There are people who sign up and don't show. There are people who sign up and cancel the morning of. It makes the catering a little bit uneven and wild, but it's something that I accept just because not everybody knows whether they're going to feel good that morning or not. So, and one of the many benefits to having a bigger facility is that you can sign up a bigger range of people, and the ebb and flow of it doesn't keep someone else out. 24 seats. So
Do you think that's part of the problem with the numbers is because it is such a small facility here and they know that, so they won't call up on that last minute type of deal? Or
I think it's more of a, I don't think it's they won't call last minute. I think it's people might even be going the opposite direction. They might be more tempted to sign up for more meals for fear that they won't get a spot.
Okay.
And then they cancel because they have doctor's appointments that come up that they forgot about, or they don't feel well that morning. I don't think there's necessarily any malice involved in it.
Well, I wasn't just wasn't sure if people wouldn't bother because I'm not going to get a seat anyways type of deal because there's only so many limited. I don't know.
I have seen that with the waiting list for bus events. Some people don't want to go on a wait list. They don't like the idea of a wait list at all. But we do have wait lists. So I haven't noticed that as much with the meals. Then again, we don't take a wait list for the meals because there's so many meals. It's really hard to administrate it. So that could be.
Okay.
I wouldn't rule it out, but yeah.
How many people do you think get turned away, say, we're full, unfortunately, we can't accommodate you on this meal?
I would have to be taking a guess because again, we don't do a wait list for the meals. If on a meal that's full, I would say 3 to 6, maybe. But then again, then I might have 3 people cancel the morning of, and then I've got 3 people who just show up who think they're signed up. So it tends to all equal out, but it's not always the 3 people who got turned away. It's not those same people that show up anyway. It's a different set of people.
So more active people show up that haven't signed up.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? I met with the Disabilities Commission. They are interested in creating an equipment lending program. I love the idea of it. I gave them some things to think about in terms of operations, how it would work. So they're going to continue to work through that. They are interested in something much broader than, walkers and wheelchairs and canes. They're interested in a full disability equipment program, more like re-equipment in Worcester. So I'll be excited to see. They are going to attend some upcoming building committee meetings to see if they can get some dedicated space in the new building for it. So that is ongoing. So that is exciting. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, and I know this was on, I'll save the Friends of the Air thing for when we get to that part. So I think that's all. I'm sorry, these my report tends to get long, so that's all.
And look what happened. Friends of Air COA is, next item on the agenda. So I know that this is something that we've bandied about.
Mhm.
As I see it, the issue is members of the Friends of Air COA 501c3 cannot be anybody who's on the board. So in order to form a 501c3, you need people who aren't members of the board to complete the paperwork necessary to be the chair, the vice chair, and I think the clerk. You need 3 people. So that's kind of what the first step would have to be in forming a Friends of Air 501c3 would be getting people that aren't typically on the board to perform that function.
What is their function?
Well, they would act as they could solicit donations. If a properly formed 501c3 would be able to take in money from donations or from charitable endeavors or whatever, and then they would be able to dispense it separate from the town. That is, it would not be part of the town's budgeting. It would fall under the authority of the board members who would vote on how to spend the money and in what manner to spend it and raise it and all the rest of it. It would also act as an advocacy group, and it could act independent of the town. That is, as its own entity, it doesn't have to ask for the permission of, Robert or the town accountant or the select board. It can, function with the charitable purpose of supporting the work of the Air Senior Center in this case. I guess, and I know that we kind of looked at this several months ago. We need the people to kind of say, hey, I want to form the 501c3.
So I started planting that a bug in Ellen Fitzpatrick, who also can't be on that board because she's on the building committee board, as well as Carolyn McCreary. And so Carolyn said she would love to organize a meeting. And I think I told you Ellen, but it was Carolyn. Just a kickoff meeting, and both of them had 3 or 4 people that they thought might be interested in this.
Sure.
So they set the date of June 11th at 1 p.m. here at the Senior Center to have a kickoff, a discussion of what would be involved, what would they do, and to add to Dennis's explanation, most senior centers have a Friends of a COA.
Mhm.
I suspect the reason that Ayer has not had one is because Ayer has a really strong commercial tax base. And so the town of Ayer has a pretty big budget for the number of residents that it has. And it doesn't all fall as a burden to the individual homeowners' property taxes. So, my budget, for example, is almost double here what the budget is in Townsend. And it's exponentially higher than what the budget is in Hartford. So there hasn't been as much of a need for it to keep the day-to-day operations of the senior center going. But going forward to a new building, there will be a need to, for example, ask Pepsi or ask Catania Oils if they would like to make a donation towards the cost of a new senior center. Maybe it becomes the Catania Oils dining room, whatever. But I can't ask Catania Oils to donate $50,000 to the senior center. That would be that would be, I guess technically that would be soliciting. I think, right? I mean, I think it would be. So
And or
that's
extortion.
right, and or extortion, right? Right, so you will give us, no, so that's why people who sit on town boards, town committees, and town employees can't fundraise. We can't ask for money, because it's so intertwined with our roles and seats of responsibility. So, we can't do that, but a separate 501(c)(3) can. So, for example, we were out in Wilbraham a couple of weeks ago touring their new senior center built by the same architect who's going to build ours. And their friends group was selling bricks. What? I'm speaking in the positive and
Absolutely.
so, they raised $36,000 or $38,000 from bricks for their patio. So they will have named bricks out there. And that group, do I?
Like hospital.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like what the Polo Park did with their
right,
baseball.
right.
Yeah.
But so I
we have
can't,
one of those.
but even though I think it's a great idea, I can't organize that because
Mhm.
I can't run a sale of bricks.
Mhm.
That's, just not allowed for a town official to do that. So that's why we need this separate entity to do it. In Wilbraham, they raised almost $1 million towards their project that with various projects. So, that's the need for it. So,
Like, there's a Friends of Air Library
yeah.
committee, it's the same type of deal, and those,
Right.
and what do they do? They supplement like the book budget,
Mhm.
but they sell old used books, those types of things, is how they make their money and put it out.
Although I went to the library meeting, to your point, I went to the library meeting. And interestingly, the library had been fines, late return fines
Mhm.
that were coming through the library. The library was giving it to the friends of the library so that they could use it for their charitable endeavors to benefit the library. Come to find out, that's a no-no. That is all fines or any money that is given to the library as a town entity has to go back into the general fund.
Mhm.
And so the friends are now gonna have to,
Say that?
no, nobody was looking to kind of claw back any money and nobody was being accused of any kind of misspending of the money or anything of that sort. It was just that, and we're talking a nominal sum here, but, it was interesting. I had no idea, but it was interesting to learn that.
Yeah.
So,
But that's what those special revenue funds are. It can't go back into the first set, but it has to be received. Any money brought in has to be received. It can't be just passed along
Yeah,
under the table.
that's interesting.
Katie, you do a wonderful job. I'm not trying to give you another project to work on, but has anybody thought about raising a position about the hospital? You know, Stewart and it affects our senior citizens in the area.
So my understanding is that when was it, earlier this week, last week, whenever they officially filed for bankruptcy, that the head of Stewart had a personal conversation with the town manager, with Robert, and assured him that they were not closing. So as far as I understand, there is no action needed on our part right now.
So, but
I mean, maybe we could put that on the agenda for a.
I would like to do that actually, but Robert, thanks for bringing that up because for me, and I've followed it rather closely, especially the Boston Globe has been all over this. That if Stewart is going to continue operating in bankruptcy as normal, to hear them tell the story. But their bankruptcy is occurring in Texas, and they are supposed to have sold all their hospitals by the end of June. Most people that I've read say that's highly unlikely that they could arrange for that.
Yeah.
But all of this to say that if a buyer for the hospital comes forward and takes over the hospital and agrees to operate it as it has been, then, perhaps there won't be much substantive change. If, however, Neshoba Valley is seen as a non-productive hospital and the buyer does not want to try to acquire it and keep it open as a hospital, then the town will have an opportunity perhaps, or will, what is going to happen to that entity? And it may be that the seniors will want to weigh in on what they would like to see happen. Again, in the absence of another buyer coming forward and saying, I want to buy Neshoba Valley Medical Center, I agree to keep it open as a hospital, things are going to be fine here. Without that happening, what are the other alternatives for the town?
I just think all of that is speculation at
Oh,
this point.
absolutely is.
So I think when the opportunity presents itself, I hope the Council on Aging and the seniors will advocate for what they need here. But all of that is speculative. I did, however, get the assurances of the town manager's office that they would have they would support us in whatever we needed to do in order to continue to serve the seniors, should there be a change. But right now, it's a should there, if there's, if this, if that, it's,
It's gonna happen fast.
I don't know how, yeah, I was gonna
That's
say,
right, that's my,
I don't know how they can guarantee anything right now.
I don't know that anything is guaranteed.
Right,
I guess
right.
I'm just saying that
Because they're out of Utah right now, they sold, they're bankrupt, they're in Texas.
There's some people up there, the hospital I talked to, hoping that some Boston hospital buys it.
Oh, I'd like to see that this week.
Yeah, that would be good, something like Beth Israel or, Deaconess or,
Mhm.
Mass General. Something.
yeah, that's a long, complicated.
Yeah, but I don't think, yeah.
Okay,
But anyway, just a thought.
Mhm.
no,
I
I
think it's
appreciate you bringing it up,
important to stay on
because I
top of
think
it.
it is, yeah.
Mhm.
So
That
the
would
next,
have to be in a public meeting of some sort, in, or
Not
some
necessarily,
decision would have to have been made in order to go.
For what?
To go, like, to advocate or anything else like that.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that's super speculative because I don't know that the town will have any role in what
Right.
happens to a privately owned piece of land in the town or how it's used. Aside from if it changed uses, it would have to go through the planning board process.
Right.
But whether it stays a hospital or doesn't, like the town won't have an opportunity. There would be no,
right, but I mean, my overarching point would be that I think that the town, rather than reacting to whatever it is that happens, we don't know what that is going to be. That is, the town would be in a position, I think, to say, if it does not continue as a hospital, for various economic reasons or whatever, which seems like it's a possibility. If that doesn't happen, this is what the town would like to see happen in terms of the land, the planning board, the conservation commission.
That would all be an asset in bankruptcy,
What's that?
that the land and everything and the building
Yeah,
would be.
I mean, would the town want to acquire it? Would the town want to buy the land out of bank? And again, I'm not asking for answers here.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that the town may be in a position to proactively say, if it doesn't continue as a hospital, then the town would like to see this happen.
right. And I don't know, I think we'll have to wait to see that unfold and unless it's. I don't know that the Council on Aging would be
No, it
involved
would.
in that.
It would. But I'm gonna be talking to some people like,
Sure, sure.
all right. The building update.
You want me to
have-
offer?
You have.
Well,
what current
I just
information
put a
that
little blurb in the director's report, so we have continued to meet about twice a month. In April, we ended the second request for proposals for private land. No one in town wants to sell their land to the town for that purpose, so the committee is going forward with the 3 pieces of town-owned land that I discussed during our last building update: the Groton Harvard Road site, the Bishop Road site, and the
Bishop and Brook Street, yeah, Brook Street site. And the due diligence on those 3 sites continues, and tomorrow evening, we will have, and Catlin Architecture was hired and the contract was finalized to hire them as the new architect to work on the project. Tomorrow night, here at 6 p.m., there was a location change yesterday, which I think is wonderful. We will have the meeting here. It will be the kickoff session with the new architect. It's a really full agenda. It will be, I think, largely kind of boring details for the first one, but I would encourage anyone who wants to attend. We'll have this room set up just with more chairs and tables to accommodate the bigger group, but that meeting is tomorrow here at 6 p.m. also via Zoom, and I will have to figure out how to get that going before then so that we can see it. Yeah, I think that's the update. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
No. Any more public input, questions? Yes, yes, Barbara.
We have a letter that submitted to Katie and to English. Maybe you've already had it, but to the Council of Aging. On behalf of Dr. Set, a long-time attendee of the CNA, wish to donate $100. She has always loved seeing the beautiful flowers outside the theater. Doc has requested the $100 to use to continue the planting of flowers that others can enjoy in such as she did. As in the past year, we are sure that Janine McFord will donate her time to purchase the flowers for the field. Abby Wilson is donating her time to tend the flowers. This donating of time will ensure the field can continue with other important functions. Friends of Dr. Set, Nancy Jack Boney and Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please reply to Nancy Jack Boney and Dr. Wilson, David Trust. Dear Nancy Bauer, thank you for your generous donation to the Ayer Senior Center. I understand you will earmark $100 cash donation for the purpose of flowers planted in the cause outside the senior center in honor of the no personal services required by the Ayer Senior Center in exchange for the donation. As of this date of this receipt of the town of Ayer Council on Aging Senior Center, tax ID number, is a current and valid 501 non-profit organization according to the standards and regulations of the Internal Revenue Service. Please consult the tax advisor. So,
Okay.
we
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Barbara.
No, hey, Dawn, thank you. And in the past, last year, the policy was donated by Nancy and all of her.
Yes.
Could we include that as part of the minutes? Did you want to make a photocopy of that so that it can be included?
Copy of it. Okay. I'll get it right back to you.
Let me send out a little letter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. I suggest, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we send out a formal letter recognizing the donors and send out a thank you card.
It's a very good suggestion, Robert. Okay,
Dorothy is now a resident at, Life Care Center.
I'm sorry,
Dorothy is now a resident of Life Care Center in Littleton.
in life care. Okay. What's Dorothy's last name?
Do 16.
Do I have the board's permission to craft a letter and have it sent to Dorothy, thanking her for her donation?
Yeah. I made a motion if you need one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, motion passed.
Thank you, Barbara, for calling that to our attention.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dorothy.
Yeah, they looked so pretty last year. You guys did a great job. Unfortunately, Janine's not here today, but we can talk to her verbally about being willing to do that.
He told Barbara and myself that she would volunteer going and getting the flowers and getting them planted.
Okay,
And then Barbara would take care of So Jeannie's already volunteered that.
Okay.
You got a green thumb. You got a green thumb.
She
It's something
does.
I never knew. It just appeared.
Okay.
I have a question. And to me, this is, just doesn't make sense to me. If there's the $3 suggested donation, that means people don't have to pay, but they can. Okay. This meal scholarship program bothers me.
Why does it bother you?
Because to me, it's a suggestion that if I can't afford the $3, then I need to come to you, say, I can't afford a $3 meal and have to sign up to be covered for a $3 meal. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, it's an option. It's certainly an option. I think the intent of it was to try and appeal to lots of people think about things in different ways. And so some people are comfortable coming in and saying, I don't have the donation today, but I know it's a suggested donation. I'm going to go ahead and come in. Maybe later I'll have the money. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Other people have a different way that they approach things. And so their thinking is much more, I'm going to use the word rigid, but I don't mean it. I'm going to say black and white. How about that? That's a better way to describe it. Some people have more black and white thinking. I either have the money or I don't have the money. And if I don't have the money, I can't go. I could never go and not pay. It's just different mindsets, right? Versus someone else is very fluid with their thinking. I have the money this time. I don't have it that time. So the idea was to try and make it welcoming for someone who wasn't coming at all to come for the first time, to begin coming by taking advantage of the scholarship program. Or for example, if someone's financial situation changes for a temporary period of time, a month, 2 months, something like that, and they have been able to do it, but they currently can't, then we can help fill a gap. But it really has more to do with how people think about it, because it hadn't even occurred to me that someone would feel offended by it.
Exactly.
And so the whole goal is to try and make it warm and welcoming for people, no matter which way you're thinking about things, to participate in our lunches, because we know the benefit of coming and having a good quality, nutritious meal and socializing with people is so good for your body and your soul.
Well, so that's for all, but it doesn't matter, town, out of town.
That's a very good question. I haven't had anyone from out of town request to sign up. It was a private donation. The anonymous donor who gave those funds, it's not town funds being used for it. It was a private donation. They didn't mention to me that they have any limitation on the residency of the person. And the idea is that that's a private and personal interaction between me and the person, that no one would know who was on it or not on it.
Right, yeah.
That might not be as utilized as much as it might be. I had heard, I come to lunch for most of the day. And I would put money in every year, I said, but I have heard people making a table. Oh, how much money in here today?
Yeah.
And that chases people away.
Yeah, they're shamed by other
Yes,
people.
they are shamed because they didn't have it, but
Yeah.
But that's what's, I think, really nice about the meal scholarship program, is if someone is on that program, then they have the $3 to put in the bin.
No, your program is gonna cover that $3 for that individual.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sitting here. I can't pay, so I've come to you for help to cover my meals, because it's covering the meal, it's not giving you $3 to put in donation.
It is actually, that's actually how it works, is
Okay.
the people who are on the program come to see me before lunch. I give them the $3 and then they go out and appear completely exactly identical to the people who are
Okay.
contributing the money.
Then there needs
So
to
there's no
be-
there's no sense of othering. There is no nothing for that. It's
So this
designed to create a
program
normal experience.
should be expanded and explained more rather than
I
come
don't
to
think
me,
it's happening
you know,
that way.
because
Is that?
don't,
I'm still alive.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe you said, is, I would say, personal.
You don't think what's happening that way?
I don't think it's always happening that way.
No, still,
What,
I'm saying.
I wanted to clarify, what do you think is not happening that way?
Sometimes myself. And where's the meaning?
What was demeaning?
Going to you and tell you I didn't have money, and you gave me the money to put in. And people will table, see me go into your office, and from there.
But people go into my office
I know.
all the time for all, and not all of them. are there. If you come out holding
Well,
$3 in your hands, abandon yourself with it and put it in the bowl, then that's a whole different situation. I mean, if you put it in your pocket, I had no idea that had happened to you, because if I
it wasn't
didn't,
your fault, I'm not blaming you.
right, but I want to make sure,
Affected me,
yeah.
and I haven't been back since.
Right.
she pays once a week. So she's covered for the week, but when she comes in and sits down, she's seen not putting money in,
Right.
and she gets shamed by other people.
Yes.
All right. So that to me is a cultural issue that we've got going on at our tables.
Yes.
More so than a flaw in the meal scholarship program. So thank you for explaining that. I'm
Two
hearing,
different things.
right, I'm hearing two
Yeah.
separate issues here. So no, this is very helpful for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think first of all, whoever's collecting money off the table shouldn't make any comment about what's there or what isn't.
Okay, so it's the person, but is it the person collecting the money? Okay, so that this is very helpful because this is very illuminating for me. Is it the person collecting the money off the table
Yes.
that is shaming people?
Yes.
So then that's a very specific individual conversation that I need to have versus chatter amongst participants at the table, which is a group conversation. Okay, so this is helpful. All right.
Can I say something to that?
Sure, of course.
I know exactly what she's talking about. She's talking about me. Because I don't know if it was this week, it was only Tuesday, it was last week. I knew there was money in the bowl. And then I went to collect the money and it was not in the bowl anymore. So I said, oh, what happened to the money? That's what I said. And I went back to, I did not specifically mention you in any kind of way, shape, or form. And then I went to the niece and said, Denise, did you take the money from table one? She said, yes, I needed the money to make change. End of conversation.
So,
Yes, you are.
okay, so hang on. So,
You always got it up for me. I don't know.
okay, so this is helpful because I see lots of opportunities to have individual conversations and make incremental changes that I think are going to get us to where we want to go. You and I can have a conversation about how we interact with the people at the table. At the large meal conversation, we can have a conversation about being kind and friendly, inclusive to our friends.
Okay.
And at the newsletter level and in the interpersonal social interaction services level, we can have a more detailed discussion about how the meals scholarship program works. I think that would be kind of attacking this from three very valuable angles.
I have a question. I mean, I can't come down for meals because I'm on a special diet. You said collect money from the bowls. Is it like an open bowl next to Mary Ellen? Okay. I would suggest that it be like, the suggestion box type of thing. No, let the people put their money in that, then collect the boxes at the end of the meals.
It's the same thing, somebody's gonna see you put that money in.
Some people have a clean automobile.
Right.
And they're paying for
And they make-
fuels, and they're trying to make change.
I think we tried it one time up on the end of the counter with a closed box.
Yeah.
And people didn't like that because they didn't want to get up and down or they'd say it's not there. I forgot it. I forgot and I meant to pay and I forgot. Now I feel bad. We tried a lot of different methods, including the envelopes on the table, which is expensive and wasteful of paper. I will give that some more thought on what ways there are. I think inherently, though, the underlying issue there is y'all are judging each other. We're judging each other based on what's going in or not going in. And that's, I think, the larger problem.
Right.
There's enough food, there's enough everything. We don't need to be judging each other based
We
on it.
don't.
And that's, I think, the bigger discussion.
But I think maybe we could log in when we log in, have somebody collect or not. And,
Then you're putting it on a reception.
So then you're
Well-
putting on the receptionist and you're gonna have a huge line at the door to get.
not
people
really,
in and-
because we all come in differently.
I mean, I think that's an idea to
And
consider.
I'm willing to try it for you.
But then somebody needs change. You don't have enough
But
money
Katie
for
has
that
changed,
change.
and you can give the person so much, and you know what you're given.
So could I ask, for the purposes of the COA board meeting, and again,
It's like a,
this is an important conversation, and
Yeah.
actually I am learning a great deal. Just from listening to
Mhm.
this, and I think that there will be a path forward to make the situation better. I think that that's gonna be great.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
For the purpose, but I think that it's gonna require that the participants here and Katie kind of sit down and work through the senior center procedures for kind of administering the meal scholarship program. Absolutely important conversations to have. But for the purposes of the COA board meeting, I think perhaps we could adjourn the COA
Right.
board meeting. And you
Well, I-
could take
Right.
whatever
Sure. I think that it's
Administrative.
important to bring it, to have a venue for them to bring
Oh,
it up.
absolutely, yes,
But to- yeah, to
absolutely, no,
work, yeah.
it's certainly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what I would say is where the solution lies is going to be working with Katie and the
Mhm.
staff here to come up with a set of procedures that, you know.
The way it's
people
going now, it's.
Okay.
Okay, I have one last thing. I personally believe that it should be under the board, because you handle tires, fires, type of thing.
This board does not have anything to do with
But I
that.
mean,
Mhm.
you have spoken before about getting a new van, an extra van driver. Okay? I was driving by the fire station the other day. And it says COA hiring van coordinator.
Mhm.
Now, Sam's been listed as van coordinator for years,
Mhm.
ever since he took over from Mike.
Yeah.
And is he gonna be demoted?
No,
So
we're hiring additional van drivers to provide more services. Because Sam can only work 40 hours a week.
Yeah,
And he wants to go on vacation, so we're
So-
hiring additional, what I call like the equivalent of substitute teachers.
right, I understand that, but when you put down coordinator, it's like you're gonna have another person who all their job is going to be signing people up for this or that, like doctor's appointments and.
I think you made a huge assumption about that, so I'm glad you're asking about it, because this, what we're
I'm not the
actually
only
doing.
one.
Well, I didn't even make that sign. I actually had no
Yeah.
idea that was posted there, that they had put it on the sign. So the title is the same. They are part-time, non-benefited employees. Nothing is happening to Sam. Sam is fabulous.
Why can't, couldn't it have said COA hiring van drivers.
I didn't make the sign. I had no idea the sign was there. So
Coordinator to me is on the level as,
but that's the position that was being hired.
So what's happening, Sam?
Nothing's happening to
Nothing's
Sam.
happening.
Nothing's happening to Sam. Sam is fabulous. Sam is wonderful. Sam is staying on. But Sam needs to be able to go on vacation and
Right.
still have van service covered.
right,
Sam, I can't work Sam from 8 to 4 and then ask him to go spend an evening working every week for us to do all these other programs. The way to alleviate everybody's stress over these van trips is to do more van trips. And so I can't do that without more drivers.
Yes.
okay.
And so
Then it's my definition of coordinator. That's Miss.